Good day, everyone. Today I will be explaining my infographic titled Anatomy of a Modern Web System. So, modern websites like social media, shopping apps, and school portals may look different, but they all follow the same system structure. My infographic shows the main parts of the structure and how they work. Now, starting with the front end, with what the user sees. The front end is a part of a system that runs in the user's browser. It is what we directly see and interact with. This includes login pages, buttons, forms, dashboards, and displayed informations. The front end is built using technologies like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript that makes it interactive. Without the front end, users will not be able to interact with the system at all. But the front end alone cannot process data, it only sends user interactions to the next part of the system. Here I used real life example is a school portal. To make it easier to understand, imagine a student logging into a portal, with the step one being the student entering their username and password on the login page, which is part of the front end. And the step two, the system checks the account or verifies the account. And the step three, the student grades are achieved. And the last step being that the grades are displayed on the screen. Even though this looks simple from the user's perspective, multiple parts of the system are working behind the scenes. This brings us to the back end. Now, the back end is a server side of the system. It receives requests from the front end. When the student clicks log in, the backend processes the request, checks the account if it exists, verifies if the password is correct, decides what data should be sent back. The backend contains the system's rule and logic. It acts like the brain of the web system because it controls how data is handled and what response the user receives. However, the backend does not permanently store data by itself. For that, it communicates with another component, which is the database. Now, before explaining the database, my infographics highlight security and development because they are essential in modern systems. First being the security. Web systems handle sensitive informations like personal data and grades. To protect this system, the system uses login authentication, so only authorized users can access the account. Next up is the encrypted passwords, meaning passwords can are stored in a protected format. And lastly, with the HTTPS connections, which encrypt the data while it is being transmitted over the internet. These measures prevent unauthorized access and data theft. And the next one being the development. The development means the system is hosted on a web server or cloud platform. This allows the website to be available online to the students 24/7. Instead of running on just one local computer, the system is deployed to hosting services so users can access this anytime and anywhere. The security protects the system and deployment makes it accessible. Moving on to the database. The database stores all the important information of the system. This includes the user accounts, records, grades, transactions. When the backend needs information, it requests data from the database. Now, for example, when verifying a login, the backend asks the database to check if the username and passwords match stored records. And if correct, the database sends the data back to the backend. Then the backend sends the final response to the front end, and the student sees their grade. So basically saying that the database is essential because without it, there will be no information to retrieve or update. One key insight I learned about is that modern web systems are structured layers working together. What seems like a simple action, clicking a button, actually triggers communication between the front and back end the database. And understanding the structures helped me see that the web development is not just about design, and it is how data flows securely and efficiently across different parts of the system. Now, all modern web applications follow this same foundational structure. So thank you, and that concludes my presentation.